As someone who has been described in the past as cheap, Irish and empty myself, I am delighted to welcome my first two guests tonight. She's the graphic designer whose Instagram account, Cheap Irish Houses, made her the accidental TV star. Oh, I know who that is. Yes, yes, exactly, yes. I love the fact you've come to the show and you're just talking at the TV the way if you're at home. That's great. You know who that is. You do know who it is. And he's the Cavan comedian who still thought those houses weren't cheap enough. Here to tell us about their new show, Cheap European Homes. Would you please welcome Maggie Molloy and Kevin McGahey. I want to get away. I want to fly Welcome to the show, Maggie. There's a woman in the front row, very excited, big fan.
Thank you.
Go. She loves the show, and why wouldn't she love the show?
It's a hot crowd tonight, Paddy. Hot crowd.
They're all here for you. They're all here for you, Kevin.
Still going.
Still going. Still going. We'll do a bit of crowd work here, and then we'll get into the material. So look, Cheap European Homes. I'm assuming that you're the homes part of this, and are you the cheap European part of this?
Definitely the affordable part of it,
yeah. So look, tell us how it works. It's a spin-off, of course, of Cheap Irish Homes, which started with an Instagram account.
It did. Yeah, and a love of very, very cheap houses.
Yes.
I bought one myself when I was 23. They weren't that easy to find back in the boom, so I got an €80,000 house, and everyone thought it was the only one in the country. It was the only one, and I just thought one day, you know, there's loads of them out there. Maybe I'll just put them up on Instagram, and it just went crazy.
OK, so we're going to ask you a short question here. How did you manage that? Which is kind of code for how could you afford that? How did it work?
The house?
Yeah.
Well, I was working a normal job. I was just working in IT, and I was living in a little flat, and I was cold. I was working from home. There wasn't really great heating. You know the flats where there's no heating in it, there's no insulation. And I just thought, you know, I'll go into the bank and see would they give me any money. They said they give me 110,000. And I thought, sure, that's grand. I'll buy a house in Wexford with that now, and I'll stay at home forever.
OK, and let's have a wee look here. This is what you bought. So look.
This wasn't in Wexford, though. No, this is Tipperary.
This is in Tipperary. A bit of better value in Tipperary.
Yeah,
there you go.
A bit,
so,
yeah.
So that's it that's before and after. And let's have a wee look inside what we've done. You see? Not lovely. There you go. People still wondering how you can walk into a bank and ask for 110 grand and get it these days.
I think you need a gun.
I think you do need a gun. It's now gone international. The show is now European. You've got an international man of mystery. What's your role on this show, Kevin?
I sort of Maggie's in charge of the houses, so she gets the houses for the people. I kind of show them around and help them sort of ease their transition, I suppose.
Right. So is that kind of Maggie? You do the hard work and he takes them to the pub. Is that how it works?
Yeah, Maggie's the Michael Corleone, I'm Fredo.
Right.
But actually, out of all the things, because the food is obviously amazing in Europe, the weather's amazing. The pubs are the one thing that they just haven't quite nailed yet. Like in Irish pubs, like we really understand the urgency of needing a pint. And like I need it actually as I'm walking in the door, it needs to be handed to me. Like in France, like we've gone to places and we wait in 10 minutes before anyone comes near you. Like in Ireland, like you need to treat a man walking into the pub like he's just spent 4 days going through the desert to get to that pub. And it doesn't matter like how busy the place is. Like a good Irish bar should be like a New York Stock Exchange, just lads taking orders like this. So that's the one thing they haven't quite nailed yet.
No.
I mean, there's a lot of hard work taken on these houses, Maggie. I mean, so what's the most important bit of advice you would say if you were going to try to do this either here at home or abroad?
Honestly, just don't try to do everything at once. You don't need to buy a house and spend €300,000 on it straight off the bat. You don't need to build the extension the first year. You just need to do what you have to do to get into it and get yourself into a better position than you're in right now. And I think if you can do that, you can do it on the cheap anywhere, because you're going to save a hell of a lot of money. You don't need the marble countertops. You don't need the €30,000 fitted kitchen. You don't need that.
You need to save a wee bit of money to go to the pub with Kevin.
you
That's
go.
kind of what...
Highly recommended.
Do you think it's something that more young people here should be looking at?
I do. And I think, to be fair, they are looking at it. They really are. I think young people here are very open-minded. They've had to be. And I think them houses are getting snapped up fast. There's a lot less of them available than there was 6 years ago. But yeah, no, they are open-minded. And they're really willing to just get in and get their hands dirty, which has changed a lot in the last couple of years.
And there's a €70,000 grant.
There is, yeah.
Has that helped a lot? Or?
I mean, it's changed things. You know, they like to add 70,000 onto the purchase price now a bit, which isn't ideal, but it's still a help. Look, it is. It's a steps in the right direction.
And that's the derelict grant that you can
The
get.
vacancy with the derelict top-up, yeah.
Okay, so you think this is a better idea then than maybe cabins in the garden, would you say, Kevin?
Well,
I don't know. I haven't looked into the cabin in the garden just yet. Are you offering?
To be honest with you, there's a big Tom fan here in the front row. There's an old log cabin for sale, so that's... what do you think's the difference between a cheap Irish house and a cheap European house, Maggie?
I think in Ireland, you're trying to keep the water out and the cold out. And I think in Europe, you're trying to keep the sun out. And I think in Ireland, we're building our houses to get that sun in. And you can go to Europe and there can be tiles missing off the roof and the architect will just go, it's fine. Stick something up over it, it's fine. They're trying to keep the place cold. We're trying to keep our places warm and dry. So they're totally different situations.
And then when Irish people go out there, Kevin, I mean, do Cavan men fit in on the continent? Do you blend in easily?
Well, I mean, in Europe, they don't really have a tipping culture. So I think Cavan people, that suits us quite well. We really like the no tip. But I think in general, I think we're very polite, especially with waiters. Like we were in this, remember that really fancy place in France? We were with the two women from Derry. And we couldn't get over just the rudeness of waiters compared to like Irish waiters here. And I remember one of the women was like, I'd like the steak, please. And can I have that like fairly well done? And he's just like, no. And she's like, okay. See the way it has mushrooms on it? I hate mushrooms. Is there any way you could like take the mushrooms off the plate and swap it with something else? He's like, no. She's like, okay, I'll just have something I hate with a side of something I really, really hate. So, yeah, you have to kind of get used to that.
And I'm assuming that none of these houses, Maggie, have any swimming pools in Europe, just because Kevin doesn't operate particularly well in the swimming pool environment.
Thank you for teeing up that story so naturally,
yes.
Patrick. Yeah,
let's start that again. Tell us the story about the swimming pool.
We had an incident. So we go swimming, me and my wife and my two children. And in our pool, the changing area is very small, the little cabins, like you couldn't swing a cat in it. And you shouldn't really swing a cat anywhere. I don't think whether or not the decision to swing a cat should be based on the location and the size of it. I'm saying this was a small area, and my daughter hates the showers. Like, she bawls her eyes out, she cries, goes mad in the shower. My son doesn't mind at all. So I was changing my son in this little cabin. My wife was in the other adjoining cabin, and she was changing my daughter, and she was crying like mad and going mad. And I was trying to I wanted to help my wife. I wanted to ease my child's pain. So I do this thing sometimes with my daughter where I talk with a funny voice using my hand. So I reached across and I went, "It's okay, baby, daddy's here." And my child did not stop crying, but another child started crying. So I had miscalculated exactly what cabin they were in. So if anyone knows of a new swimming pool in the Rathmines area that I could go to, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Are you happy to be hosting this show with this man now, based on that, Maggie?
Look, I'm putting up with him.
Yeah.
You're my character witness.
Look, it's Mother's Day this weekend. I know the mammies are in the audience there. There we go. We've got
Alex.
Una and Anne. We've got Una McGahern and Anne Malloy. Give us a wave there, ladies. There you go. Great. Kevin, how... They're pretending they're happy, but how upset is your mum that she didn't make the Daniel O'Donnell show last week?
She's probably more of a Francis Black fan, I'd say, actually.
Okay.
And my dad's probably more of a Sugar Babes fan. Not so much a fan of their music, but their whole vibe. Weirdly enough, I was in a, not to brag, but I was in a ballad group with my mother, fairly rock and roll stuff, years ago, and we supported Daniel O'Donnell. He used to do, some person said woo there. You can all join in. But we were supporting Daniel O'Donnell. He does like a cancer benefit thing in Ballina and Cavan every year. And I remember he came in, so we were all backstage, and it was all tea and buns. It was fairly rock and roll stuff. And I remember Daniel came in, and all the old women were just like vibrating with excitement. And he came over and sat down beside me, and I went up because we were about to go on stage, and I get up and he said, sorry, excuse me, I think you might have sat on something. And I looked down, I couldn't see anything on my arse. And I kind of instinctively called for my mammy, as you do when you're not sure what's happening. And my mother came over, and I'd sat on a bun. So there was a bun stuck to my arse. So my mother came over and sort of spanked the crumbs off my arse as Daniel O'Donnell watched approvingly. It was definitely probably my weirdest showbiz story.
And you can see a version of that story on Cheap European Homes.
That's the After Dark version.
That is the After Dark. Maggie, congratulations on this show. It's an absolute phenomenon, and long may it continue. Thanks for coming in and seeing us. You can catch Maggie and Kevin. Yeah, give it up one more time. There she is, just there, that woman there. You can catch Maggie and Kevin on their travels when the new series of Cheap European Homes starts RT1 this Sunday at 7:30. Thanks so much for coming in.